try this off microphone. Can everyone hear me okay? In the back?
It's kind of loud with the airflow back here. I just will say that.
Okay. I'll come back to the mic then.
That's better.
If you haven't tried Liliana's product, I tried it before her presentation. It's quite delicious, and I think it's available in the back.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Just samples outside.
Well, I want to start off with an image from way back when. This is Larry Bird and Magic Johnson from 1984, the NBA Finals. A hard-fought 7-game series between the Celtics and the Lakers. What's interesting is if you look at the statistics from this era of basketball, you'll find that in 1984, the average NBA team attempted just 2 3-point shots per game. If you compare that with this past NBA season, 32 3-point shot attempts per game. So over the last 45 years, the game of basketball has changed dramatically. And preparation for that game has changed dramatically as well. If you talk with youth coaches, college coaches, women's game, youth game, what have you, all of them are saying the same thing. We need to prepare our next generation of basketball players for the 3-point game. That means shooting the long shot, learning how to guard the 3-point shooter. Not only has the game changed dramatically, preparation for that game has changed as well. We like to use this as a metaphor for the work that we do at District C. And I'll give you this excuse me, striking statistic. Business leaders were given the following prompt. To what extent do you agree that recent college graduates are prepared with the competencies and skills needed to work at your company? 11% strongly agreed with that statement. Recent college graduates, the most successful students among us, which is, by the way, is less than half of the population graduate from college. Even those folks are deemed unprepared by business leaders. I imagine many of you are thinking the same thing as you think about filling your next role, right? So how is this possible? I think it's easy to blame schools, and as a society we like to blame schools. Schools have actually gotten better over the last 45 years if you look at national test scores. The problem is they have gotten better at preparing students for the things they needed to know and do 45 years ago. In the meantime, the game has changed. Yet we continue to prepare 2-point players for a 3-point economy. And this is a big problem. So what do I mean when I say a 2-point player in this economy? A 2-point player can read for direction. A 2-point player can acquire and recall information. A 2-point player can follow procedures. Think about back to your high school days. You had to learn how to execute how to use the quadratic formula, or you had to follow 10 steps to complete a chemistry lab. Our schools teach us 2-point skills. A 3-point player knows how to leverage the diverse strengths of fellow team members. A 3-point player knows how to tackle complex problems, has a process for tackling novel situations, can persevere in the face of adversity and failure. All the things that you all do in your work every single day, all that complexity and mess, we don't teach our students to do that in school. This problem is only going to get worse. I was talking with Dima earlier about this. This problem is only going to get worse over the next 10 years or so. Here's another statistic. The Brookings Institute recently released a study where they estimate that 61% of US jobs by 2030 will face high or mid-level susceptibility to automation. Computers, artificial intelligence, automation will be taking all of the stuff that is rote, procedural, all the 2-point skills, computers are already starting to do. So what's left for humans? What is the purely human job description of the future? It's 3-point skills, 3-point mindsets and tools. It comes down to 2 things. Can you work in a diverse team to solve complex problems? Working in diverse teams to solve complex problems. This is what is left for humans. And if we're not preparing our students to do these things, they're going to be stuck in low-wage jobs. Our companies, institutions, and organizations will be lacking the talent they need to succeed. So we founded District C to solve this problem. District C is a local nonprofit. We were founded 2.5 years ago. We have 3 team members at this point. And essentially, we're teaching high school students how to work in diverse teams to solve complex problems. The learning design has 3 core pillars. We're trying to move away from structured assignments to messy experiences. We're trying to move away from working for a grade to delivering real value. We're trying to move away from individual achievement work towards collective process work. So let me give you an example of how this works. This is Amelia from Research Triangle High School here in the park, Anthony from Athens Drive High School in Raleigh, and Daniel from Woods Charter School down near Pittsburgh. They come together for a full day launch day on a Saturday. In the morning, we teach them, we get them started on the mindsets and tools they need to be collective problem solvers. In the afternoon, they meet with their real business partner. This is Brooke from York Properties, a 100-year-old company in Raleigh. They're coming to our students in this case and saying, hey, look, we have a real problem. We have 6 divisions across our property company. They all do different things. They all employ different people. We're struggling to unify our brand. We have a culture problem at York Properties. Help us fix this. These 3 high school students in a diverse team spend 3 weeks meeting online using video conference and Google shared document technology, using the design thinking process that we coach them on, to propose a real solution on pitch night after 3 weeks. So they sit down at the table with their business partner, they say, hey, look, over the last 3 weeks, we've interviewed your employees, we've visited your office, we've done some research, we've ideated some potential solutions, and we've come up with an idea that we want to propose to you. So that's the learning model. All the mess and complexity of real work these students are getting over the course of a number of weeks. So let me talk a little bit about the business model. Our goal is to put this region on the map as a national leader in early talent development. And so we have this movement called the First in Talent movement. Our scale approach is to train teachers in schools to adopt our learning model. So that 4-week learning module that I just described, we're helping teachers in schools implement that as a full course, semester course or a full year, where students get credit towards their diplomas to actually go through these real-world learning experiences. So some numbers, we've served 433 students from 41 schools. 40 educators have been trained or are about to be trained by District C from 13 different schools across the region. We've partnered with 2 school districts, Wake County and Chapel Hill Carborough, who are going to be, who are sending multiple schools through our program. 25 businesses have provided problems for our students to solve. 94% of those businesses report that they have already implemented or plan to implement at least parts of the solutions that students are offering. So students are offering real value back to these companies. And the satisfaction numbers are good across the board for students, educators, and our business partners. What I want to, and here's just a snapshot of kind of the ecosystem we've developed. These are logos of business partners, schools, school systems, innovation hubs like HQ Raleigh, where we host the work. So we've built a pretty robust ecosystem of partners. Here's the challenge that I'd love some feedback on. So the business model, we feel like we're adding value in 2 places. On the talent supply side, so schools and school districts, they're trying to figure out how do we give our students real world learning experiences. District C saying, hey, we've got this for you, we can train you to do this. And we have proven that they're willing to pay us for it. So they pay us to train each individual teacher, they pay us to be a school member of District C to get access to all of our resources and tools. We provide some technical assistance, otherwise known as consulting, in the for-profit world to help them stand up their instance of District C. We also feel like we're adding value on the other side, the talent demand side. So we're introducing companies from across the region to really early, diverse talent pools from all over the region, pretty much public, private, independent, homeschool students. We're having trouble figuring out what is the best way to monetize on the right side of this equation. there's some things that we're doing, and some of it is starting to gain traction. I'll hold off on telling you what those are, because I'd love your kind of unbiased feedback on how you would approach the right side of this. I'll give you one last slide here. This is essentially our budget for 2019 has 3 revenue sources. Talent supply, which is charging schools and school districts to help them, build in District C programs into their communities. Philanthropy, and talent demand, on the demand side of this equation. We are good on the blue, we're good on the red. So far, midway through the year, the yellow is unsolved for. We're trying some things and getting some early traction, but it's unsolved for. So what I'm hoping to get your feedback on, certainly happy to answer any questions, is how do we get the talent demand side of this equation to put money into this? Because this effort, we think, benefits the entire community. With that, I'll take some questions and would love to hear any thoughts or ideas. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, can you go over one more time what who are the participants, like I was trying to understand who your customers are.
Yeah, so the question is, who are the potential customers on the demand side? I think that's an open question. So on the supply side, it's schools, school districts, who are generally looking for ways to add new programming that will prepare their students for the real world. And we've said, we've got that. We can help you do that. On the demand side, in our minds, a business, take a Pendo, right? Pendo is going to hire how many people over the next 5 years? 600 people, whatever it might be. Diversity is really critical, especially in technology companies that tend to be dominated by white males. So a Pendo is looking across the landscape, saying, how are we going to find 600 diverse, new talent, really talented young people to come into our organizations who know how to work in teams to solve problems? What we're saying is we're developing that talent pool. Yeah, we're early in this work, but we're developing it. We want them to, take a Pendo or any other large company in the area. We feel like they should be investing in this. So that's an example of an organization, or the kind of organization that could or should be investing in this. I think the challenge that we see is, okay, we're working with 16 and 17-year-olds. They're trying to hire 22, 23, 28-year-olds. There's a bit of a time lapse there, right? Yes?
So I know what I wish for you, and this is not to answer your question, but maybe a direction to look. And that is from my own personal experience where no, college did not prepare me for what was out there. But when I became a lactating mother, interestingly, that's when I realized, wait a minute, if I don't feed this thing, it doesn't eat, and it's up to me. And when I had that expanded sense of responsibility, that's when I became effective at the workplace. And ever since then, I have pondered that we understand the changes in the human brain for puberty. We do not understand the changes in the human brain before becoming a parent. We talk about how dads go through it, but we don't really mechanically understand that. And what I wish for you, and I wish for all of us, is that we have more science about how the brain matures when it becomes a parent and accepts more responsibility. Because if you had that science, I think you could translate it over to what companies really need, and you could put your ideas with science.
Did everybody catch that?
Repeat it because it's hard. You need to get to the point.
Understanding brain science for when adults become parents.
Yeah.
And how their mindset around, you made a connection which I'm not quite understanding, to how to do your work better.
Yeah, there's something in our brains that change. Okay, here's a scene from when I had a 3-year-old. I know how to play Go Fish, and there's a competitive way we all do it. But suddenly with my 3-year-old, I realized I need to stack the deck. I need to stack the deck so the 3-year-old always perceives she's winning, so she learns. So somewhere in my neurology, my brain had done a sincere U-turn. I don't know how that happens with the hormones. I know a lot about how hormones affect the brain, I read fun stuff, but I don't think we have
Yeah, I appreciate the suggestion. So if the work were more grounded in brain science, we could make a more compelling case.
No, I guess.
A great point. Yes.
I think it's much needed, Dan, so appreciate you doing this because it's something that comes up, I think, quite a bit from what I've seen in other conversations as well. What I'm curious is, as a business for District C, what's your long-term vision of this? Like, do you see an exit strategy where you get certain economies of scale with this, that District C is no longer needed, or, you know, as a business, what are you thinking long-term in terms of how to stay involved?
Yeah. So the question is, what is the long-term plan for District C? Is there a way out where District C is no longer needed? So the work is very ecosystem driven. So I mentioned, I put this slide up. All of these organizations play a really critical role in this work. And a lot of the work that we do on a day-to-day basis is around meeting with these people, making a compelling case, bringing them into the ecosystem. And once you've built that, you create a local footprint that can be sustained with not a whole lot of District C staff or money, right? And so I think that the vision for us is, once we feel like we have the model proven here, what does this look like in Charlotte? Or what does this look like in a more rural area of North Carolina? So I think that the organization District C will transition from being the program provider to capacity builder, and then our role will become replicating the footprint in other geographies.
Rick,
Me?
and then we'll pick back across, and we'll pick back.
One of the nice presentations, appreciate it. One other thing I take a look at on is you mentioned you brought Charlotte in those areas. Are you looking at other areas with hubs? Having this as a central hub, understanding your own backyard. But like Pittsburgh, McCarthy, Allen, some of the ones there with AI. And one other thing is you're dealing with the gap with students coming from high school, the workforce aspect. It's a whole other gap of people that have been through that workforce thing. And some of these startups and everybody use those talents, but not at the price of people coming out of corporate and stuff. So you have the young end, you also have that back end. There's a lot of old people, it's, you know, I wouldn't say old, educated and experienced, that has this type of thing coming in.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think you're suggesting, is there another market of adult learners who could benefit from this? Is that?
Yeah, I think you have a segment there that, I know you got your hands full, but could be identified on that other end.
Yeah, and I think we've had some interest from companies we've done workshops for companies. They bring in 25 of their managers and ask us to train them. How do you work with a team? Those have been kind of one-off, shorter things. Maybe long-term, that's a market to go into. I think as a nonprofit, we've been really careful to stay really targeted on our mission. And then in terms of where is the next geography, I think that's a really good question. We've been kind of opportunistic so far, and I think where we see energy and critical mass of interest is probably where we'll go next. I imagine that will be more local, but I'm not sure about that. It's a good question.
Yep.
Oh, yes. So, Dan, yeah, I was surprised that you were having trouble on the demand side. My experience had been, at least at the university level, employers actually coming in, convening the things, and putting pressure on our computer science department or engineering schools to make their curriculum more relevant. And so, why not have something like a boot camp counselor? You have basically boot camps, kind of like a weekend boot camp followed by 3 weeks. Have a counselor who is maybe a university student, possibly as a part of their internship with Pendo or Epic Games or whatever, who will then bootstrap these high school students to continue their education, at least in terms of an engineering education. And I think employers might like that for some reason, because you're attacking the problem early, and if they're having a pain point, possibly even now, in terms of recruiting talent here in the U.S.
Yeah. So are you thinking that the mentors are former District C students who have now graduated into college and are?
Yeah, and who are, say, interns.
Yeah.
You could
Yes.
That interning company, and part of their responsibility as an intern is to bring these people on, and that would sort of get it into the, into, I think you'll get more money support from a potential employer. Now, they're not interested in, strictly high school graduate.
Yeah.
But if they see, you're essentially working like an induction fan, bringing talent.
Yeah,
to
extending the pipeline.
Extending the pipe, and you're extending it backward. But there's plenty of that middle stage that employers pay good money for, and executives actually spend and invest their time.
Yeah.
Strong arming essentially some of our engineering departments to be more relevant.
So this is a great point. So here's a real case. Brooke and York Properties, they actually asked us if we had students who would be interns for the summer. And so one of our students is now interning with York Properties, and hopefully York Properties is thinking, wow, Kristen, we want to kind of keep our eye on her. She's doing great work, and maybe she becomes an entry-level hire for us. So if we continue to make these connections through internships and paid job opportunities, I think that will be a way to then monetize that side of it.
Okay, Ricardo, and then we'll come back over here.
So I see the focus on the high school, and I have something on what she was saying about the level of maturity, responsibility, and stuff. You have a talent pool there. A lot of them, I've been mentor for a lot of these high school students that are looking for entrepreneurial opportunities, lead programs, all this kind of stuff. But I think the program really needs to center on the college level to really give those guys pragmatic experience. Because they walk out of there, and I come up with a rubber meets the sky. I mean, it's like, it's all about freaking, formulas and books. And, I had a kid do a presentation trying to, we asked him for inventory level, and he's putting formulas in there, and everybody's going, when is this going to be over? All I want to know if it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks. So the pragmatic experience is in college, because a lot of these high schoolers may not go somewhere, they may become entrepreneurs, never enter college, but you're looking for experience from a company that says, I want those guys. The Centennial Campus, I think, was created for those type of purposes, to have real companies supporting students at that level. So I think it's admirable, and I commend it, that high school is okay, but the level of maturity that she was talking about at that level, once you're in college, you need something, and you want something, and the effort of going into college. So I think college is where you need to really focus developing these guys. Give them a little exposure here, but this is where the rubber meets the road. And if they walk out of there with the rubber meets the sky, which is what I see all the time, we're losing a little bit of momentum.
I would add to that just a quick amendment, because I rarely ask a question, but we're missing, I haven't heard anybody say, what about community colleges, right? Not everybody goes to college. I think that doesn't mean that you couldn't benefit from this training and still benefit our otherwise Main Street businesses. So potentially partnering with community colleges and or even making the chambers of commerce aware of the program so that they can make the Main Street businesses aware, their membership base. Maybe that's a missing link potentially, to say the members of a chamber, make them aware of this program, kind of reverse engineer it.
So I wasn't done yet, but.
Oh, sorry, Ricardo.
That's okay, that's okay. So what I was going to say is, there is a really big pool of high school students that are impressive. I would hire in a second. But again, that potential is here. Where you get them is in college. So, for me to get excited about a high school kid that has no experience, and I'm doing engineering projects and product design and stuff, the contribution of that kid, they're going to get a lot of experience and stuff, and I want to keep an eye on them, but really, what do they really bring to the table in terms of that kind of professional experience that the gray hairs here, us all gray hairs that you talked, that Rick said, old people, the experience level is what, you want to create that experience level. So I would like to have somebody that knows at least how to conduct themselves in a meeting, work in a diverse environment, but after college, when I'm ready to hire them and pay them money. So, that's it.
And then we had a question back over here as well.
I've got 2 quick reactions
So I
to
don't know
that.
if
So
you have any comments.
I understand that in terms of like closing the time gap. There are a couple of things. One, developmentally, what we have learned over the last 2.5 years of doing this, high school students can do this work. And they certainly need to be coached and taught how to do it, but they are developmentally in a place where they can do this work. The second thing is, I think we're going to be seeing a trend over the next 10 to 15 years where your traditional, highly talented, successful academic student who would typically go to a 4-year institution is going to say, you know what, I'm not doing that. It's too expensive. I don't see the value in it. I can get to where I need to go quicker by not going to college. We're already seeing this with some of our students saying to us, I've got a 3.8, got an NC State in Chapel Hill. I'm not sure I want to go to college. There's a movement out there. Brandon Busteed used to work for Gallup, is now a president at Kaplan. He's written a lot about this GoPro early concept, where students graduate from high school, they get hired into industry right out of high school, not into trade-based or technical jobs, but into professional services jobs. And the company helps them get a degree on the side at whatever time frame they want to. So we're gonna see high school graduates going right into the workplace. The other thing that achieves, I think, is one of the main motivators for why we work with high school students. I mentioned fewer than 50% of students graduate from college. Most of the students who are dropping out for financial reasons are students of color, underrepresented minorities, who are just as talented, in many cases more talented than those with privilege. They can't afford the debt. And so if we're only targeting college students and college graduates, we're missing out on a huge, diverse swath of future leaders. And so I think it's really important. I get the point.
I didn't say only, I said in addition, focus on the college, because I didn't hear college.
Yeah, I take your point.
Yeah, I didn't say only.
Yeah, maybe that's just an extension into, yeah.
High school students.
Okay, unfortunately, we got time for two.
Embellish that comment.
Okay, embellish the comment and last question.
Just to reinforce that, I mean, learning's sort of now become a lifelong thing. And working at IBM and AT&T, those large companies are building micro programs to continue. So I think you are going to see, as you mentioned, more people going to high school to get into a job and then continuing their education with their employer. So if they learn these skills early, then they'll be able to continue them into.
All right, last question.
So I do have a suggestion, and I know that's what we're asking for. I really commend your mission for doing this work, and you may already be considering this, but perhaps becoming like the standard for this and becoming like, organic or B Corp, like incorporating as a standard and then charging companies to certify themselves using that standard, and then building the pipeline of people to match that, and that way you become a national standard and become kind of the spearhead of this movement going forward. And it's not just like a route we carry together. Because you see movements everywhere and it's all mission driven.
Yeah.
It's mission driven. I think that if you kind of think they can mature into that standard, that's how you can monetize it inside.
So the suggestion is to create a standard around this work, and then organizations can pay to be certified in this standard.
Yeah, like organic standard for food or B Corp, which is unique certification.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Can you repeat that then? We couldn't hear any of it.
Yeah, like LEED or B Corp standard, LEED certified, B Corp certified, et cetera. So if a company wanted to be District C certified, we've set the standard for that company, and they pay for certification. Yeah, that's great.
All right, with that, unfortunately, we're going to have to end the